Welcome to Earthology. Tonight, we turn our gaze inward, not toward the stars above, but toward the constellation that lives inside each of us. This is the story of the human being, a story written in bone and breath, in thought and memory, in atoms that once belonged to the stars. Every one of us carries the dust of ancient suns. The carbon in your skin, the iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, all were forged in the cores of long-dead stars, scattered across the universe by cosmic fire, and gathered again to become you. When you breathe, the oxygen that fills your lungs may have passed through the leaves of a tree, or the body of a bird, or the breath of someone long forgotten. Every inhale is an inheritance. Every exhale, a gift returned. Your heart beats quietly, about 100,000 times each day, sending blood coursing through nearly 60,000 miles of vessels, enough to circle the earth more than twice. And yet, most of the time, you never notice it. Your body is a symphony of unnoticed miracles, cells dividing, repairing, translating light into sight and air into life, all without conscious command. You are both conductor and audience of a performance that began long before you were born. Inside you are roughly 37 trillion cells, each one alive, each one a small, intelligent world of its own. They speak a biochemical language older than words, trading signals, building tissues, defending against invaders, maintaining balance in silence. If you could listen to them, you'd hear a chorus of cooperation so intricate it outnumbers the stars visible in the night sky. Every second, millions of them die, and millions more are born. A quiet turnover that keeps you alive, a reminder that life is a continuous act of becoming. The salt that runs through your blood remembers the ocean. Our ancestors once swam in the sea, and in that long farewell from water to land, we carried a fragment of it within us. Your tears, your sweat, your plasma, all echo that ancient brine. In every heartbeat, the ocean still whispers. You are mostly water, shaped by gravity into a walking tide. Water fills your cells, cushions your brain, carries your thoughts. It slips between the folds of your organs like time itself, invisible but essential. Without it, there would be no heartbeat, no nerve pulse, no life. And yet, that same water is ancient, billions of years old, older than humanity, older even than the sun. Every sip you take is a reunion with the beginning of the world. Your bones are living stories. They are not stone, as they seem, but living tissue that reshapes itself throughout your life, sensing your movements, adapting to your needs, growing stronger or weaker depending on how you live. Within them, deep in the marrow, blood is born. Red cells carrying oxygen, white cells carrying defense, a daily resurrection beneath your skin. The human body is both fragile and resilient. A fall can break it, yet it can survive trauma, adapt to injury, and rebuild itself in ways machines cannot. A single cut on your hand triggers an army of cells to seal, rebuild, and remember. So next time, the same wound heals faster. Even pain is part of the design, a signal, a warning, a message from the body's deep intelligence that something precious needs care. Every night, while you sleep, your body repairs itself. Cells regenerate. Memories consolidate. The brain washes itself clean through a hidden river called the lymphatic system, flushing away the day's chemical clutter. Sleep is not idleness, it's maintenance. And when you dream, the mind rehearses life, weaving images from emotion and memory into stories no waking logic could create. Some scientists say dreams help us survive by letting us experience fear, loss, and joy safely inside imagination, so we wake more prepared for reality. Your skin is your largest organ, about 2 square meters of it. It breathes, senses, regulates, and protects. Every inch is alive with nerves, around 20 square feet of sensitivity mapping the world through touch. A single fingertip can detect textures smaller than a grain of sand. A gentle brush can send waves of sensation through the nervous system that echo across your entire body. The human sense of touch is among the most emotionally powerful. When someone holds your hand, your heartbeat may slow. When you're embraced, your body releases oxytocin, the chemical of connection. Touch reassures the mind that it belongs, that it is safe. In a way, touch is our oldest form of language. You are constantly being rebuilt. Every few weeks, you wear a new layer of skin. Every few months, your red blood cells are replaced. Even your skeleton renews itself, cell by cell, every decade. You are not the same person you were 10 years ago, not even on a cellular level, yet your mind calls it you. The self, it turns out, is less a fixed thing and more a continuing process. A story written and rewritten every moment you re-alive. Your body is ancient, but it's also incredibly modern, the result of millions of years of adaptation. Goosebumps, for example, are the echo of fur standing on end in our animal ancestors. The small bones of your ear were once part of a reptile's jaw. Even your coccyx, the tailbone, is a quiet reminder of the tails we once had. Evolution does not erase. It repurposes. Every feature, every reflex, every quirk of your biology carries a whisper from the past. The human body runs on electricity. Tiny electrical signals travel through your nerves at up to 100 meters per second, carrying thoughts, feelings, and actions. Your brain itself produces enough electricity to power a small light bulb, though what it illuminates is not a room, but consciousness. Every thought you've ever had began as a flicker of light inside your skull. You are, in the most literal sense, radiant. And yet, for all this complexity, you remain profoundly simple at heart. You need warmth, water, shelter, touch, and connection. Beneath all knowledge and technology, beneath all progress, the human being is still an animal shaped by love and fear, still reaching for the same sun that first warmed its ancestors on the savannah. Our intelligence may be cosmic, but our needs are beautifully humble. The miracle is that somehow, through these quiet mechanisms, these cells and systems, this electricity and salt water, arises something else, a feeling of being, a sense of self, a consciousness capable of looking back at the stars and wondering, what am I? Maybe that is the truest fact of all, that in trying to understand what it means to be human, we are really learning how the universe came to know itself. Through you, through every heartbeat, every question, every act of wonder, the cosmos continues its reflection. And so, we begin our journey inward, through the body, the mind, the emotion, and the mystery of it all, to glimpse the 100 quiet truths that live within us. Your body is not a single being. It is an orchestra, 37 trillion musicians playing in perfect time. Every cell keeps its rhythm. Every organ adds its voice. Together, they perform the quiet symphony that is you. Each heartbeat is percussion. Each breath is wind. The mind conducts, but much of the music plays on without it. When you sleep, the orchestra does not rest. It simply shifts key, playing slower, deeper notes meant for repair. Your heart beats even when all thought is gone. It generates its own electrical rhythm, a spark born from specialized cells that never tire. This rhythm begins before birth, when you are still only a cluster of tissue floating in fluid, and it will echo until the final moment of your life. The heart does not wait for instruction. It leads. Blood is its song. Within it, red cells, flexible, disc-shaped messengers, carry oxygen through a river that never truly ends. In a single day, they travel the equivalent of 12,000 miles. Their journey feeds every organ, every neuron, every dream. Inside them lies hemoglobin, a molecule that cradles iron, the same element once forged in the cores of dying stars. When you feel your pulse, you are feeling the rhythm of ancient fire. Every cell in your body requires oxygen, and yet oxygen itself is both gift and danger. It sustains life, but also ages it, creating byproducts that damage DNA over time. So, your cells have learned balance, producing antioxidants, recycling damaged parts, maintaining an elegant equilibrium between creation and decay. In this balance lies survival and beauty. You are constantly being remade by invisible laborers. White blood cells patrol your inner borders, seeking invaders, repairing tissues, remembering threats. If one cell discovers a danger, it sends chemical messages to others, calling them to arms. When you recover from illness, your body remembers, not in words, but in molecular memory, written into the immune system itself. This is how you survive the unseen world. Inside the body, communication happens faster than thought. Hormones drift through blood, carrying messages from gland to gland. Electrical signals fire through neurons. Chemicals whisper across synapses. In the time it takes to blink, thousands of messages have already passed through you. You are, in a way, a living conversation. And yet, so much happens in silence. Your digestive tract works with quiet precision, extracting nutrients, creating enzymes, balancing pH, all without complaint. The stomach rebuilds its lining every few days to protect itself from its own acid. The liver filters and regenerates, capable of regrowing much of itself even after injury. In these humble acts of maintenance, your body performs miracles that science still struggles to fully comprehend. Your skin, that thin border between you and the world, renews itself entirely every month or so. Beneath its surface, cells rise like slow bubbles, dying at the top to protect what lives below. This endless cycle of creation and death makes you both ancient and newborn at once. In a single touch, you may shed thousands of cells, the dust of yourself returning to the air. Your body's rhythm follows the turning of the planet. Each cell holds an internal clock, a molecular gearwork that knows day from night. This circadian rhythm governs your sleep, your hunger, your hormones, even your mood. When sunlight reaches your eyes, it resets these clocks, whispering to every cell that morning has come. When darkness falls, melatonin seeps through the bloodstream, slowing the world inside you. You are synchronized with the rotation of Earth itself, a creature made to move with the sun. You might think of evolution as something long finished, but it hums quietly within you, even now. Your body still carries remnants of the animals you once were. When you feel a chill, tiny muscles pull your skin tight, raising bumps known as gooseflesh, the ghost of fur standing on end to keep our ancestors warm. Your appendix, once dismissed as useless, now reveals its role as a safe house for helpful bacteria. Even your hiccups may trace back to ancient amphibians, whose breathing muscles once needed to close and open for both air and water. Evolution never forgets, it merely adapts. Consider your spine, a column of bones that balances you upright against gravity. Each vertebra is shaped to carry weight and bend, but not break. Between them, discs cushion the pressure, allowing you to move, twist, dance, and kneel. When you walk, you are performing an ancient rhythm, the gait perfected by countless generations who learned to stand beneath the open sky. Endurance is our inheritance. Humans are not the fastest creatures on land, but few can match our ability to keep going. Early humans ran under the sun for hours, tracking prey through persistence rather than speed. Our bodies evolved to cool through sweat, our breath and stride syncing with our heartbeat, a natural rhythm tuned for long journeys. Even now, the body remembers this, the steady breath, the pulse beneath the ribs, the quiet joy of movement. Every motion you make begins in the brain, but the brain depends on the body's feedback to understand itself. The mind is not a separate thing, but a collaboration between flesh and thought. Your posture can shape your mood. Your breathing can slow your heart. When you smile, even artificially, the brain releases chemicals of happiness, proof that emotion and body are one continuous system. Within your cells are small, spiraled structures called mitochondria. They are the engines of your existence, converting food into usable energy. But they were not always yours. Billions of years ago, they were separate organisms, ancient bacteria that merged with early cells in a pact of survival. Their descendants live on inside every human, every plant, every animal on Earth. You are not one species, but many, living in symbiosis. Your gut, too, is home to an invisible world. Trillions of microorganisms, bacteria, fungi, archaea, thrive there, influencing digestion, immunity, even mood. Scientists call this ecosystem the microbiome. It speaks to the brain through the vagus nerve, shaping cravings, emotions, and clarity of thought. In a way, your feelings may not entirely be your own. They are co-authored by the life that lives within you. If you could magnify yourself down to the molecular level, you would see vast highways of activity. Proteins folding and unfolding like origami. DNA unwinding, copying, repairing itself. Vesicles ferrying chemicals across membranes. Each process guided by chance and chemistry, yet somehow yielding order. It is the quiet machinery of existence, operating billions of times per second, creating the illusion of stillness where only motion exists. You are a storm held together by intention, an equilibrium of forces so finely balanced that even a single change, a degree of temperature, a drop of sugar, a breath of oxygen, can shift your inner weather. And yet, this fragile storm has carried you through years, through laughter and grief, through all the seasons of being alive. The body endures. It adapts. It learns. When you place a hand on your chest and feel your heartbeat, remember, you are feeling not just your own rhythm, but the echo of all life that came before. The same chemistry that stirs your blood stirred the first single-celled beings in the sea. The same energy that drives your neurons once blazed in the hearts of stars. The same patterns that shape your bones can be found in seashells, in galaxies, in snow. You are nature, dreaming of itself. A harmony between chaos and structure. A temporary shape carved by time and physics into the form we call human. And while we often chase meaning beyond ourselves, perhaps one quiet truth is this: to be human is to be music made of matter, an arrangement so delicate that it can feel, think, and love, even as it returns, note by note, to silence. Beneath the skin, deeper than muscle and bone, lies a script. It is written not in ink or sound, but in code, 4 letters repeating, twisting, and folding into the most elegant story ever told. A story written inside you, inside every living thing. This story is DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, the molecule of memory. Every human cell carries about 3 billion letters of it, arranged in sequences that determine nearly everything about who you are. The curve of your face, the rhythm of your heart, the color of your eyes, and the balance of your mind. It is not destiny, but possibility, a library of potential, constantly read and rewritten by life itself. If you stretched the DNA from a single cell end to end, it would be nearly 2 meters long. And if you unspooled all the DNA in your body, it could reach to the sun and back hundreds of times. Yet it fits, miraculously, inside the microscopic space of your cells, folded and coiled in perfect order. A spiral staircase that rises through time. The letters of your DNA, A, T, C, and G, are simple chemicals: adenine, thymine, cytosine, and guanine. They pair in harmony, each seeking its partner like lovers in a dance. From these pairings come proteins, and from proteins, cells, and from cells, you. In a sense, your entire being is music written in a 4-note scale, played across billions of instruments. But DNA is not silent. It speaks not in words, but in instructions. Each cell reads only the parts it needs, interpreting them like verses in a cosmic song. A neuron reads one chapter, a skin cell another. Together, these specialized readings create the orchestra of life, a perfect balance between unity and diversity. Inside every nucleus, enzymes patrol the DNA, copying it, repairing mistakes, maintaining its integrity. Each time a cell divides, its DNA must be duplicated, a process so complex and precise that errors are almost unimaginable. Yet they do occur, and from those small imperfections, evolution takes its next step. Mutation is not a flaw. It is the artist's brushstroke that allows change, adaptation, survival. Your DNA is not entirely human. Scattered throughout its sequence are echoes of ancient viruses, fragments of genetic hitchhikers from millions of years ago. They entered the germline of our ancestors and stayed, passed down generation after generation. Some became part of our defense system. Others remain as silent fossils of infection. You are a mosaic of evolution's experiments, carrying within you the history of life's long conversation with itself. And within each cell's watery interior lies another story, that of the mitochondria, the powerhouses of life. They are the reason your body can move, think, dream, and remember. Every movement of muscle, every firing of neuron, every beat of heart depends on them. But mitochondria were once independent beings, tiny bacteria that lived freely in ancient seas. Long ago, one cell swallowed another, and instead of destruction, they formed a partnership. The host offered shelter, the guest offered energy. It was a pact of survival so successful that it shaped the course of evolution. Even now, the mitochondria in your body carry their own DNA, a relic of their separate origin. They are the ancient immigrants who became family. You are a living museum of cooperation. Life did not evolve through competition alone, but through alliance, one form merging with another, creating something greater. From the joining of cells to the formation of multicellular beings, from microbes to humans, evolution has been a long act of collaboration. Every breath you take continues that pact, as the oxygen you inhale feeds the mitochondria that keep you alive. And deep within you, another universe thrives, one not made of human cells at all. Your microbiome, a teeming metropolis of microorganisms, outnumbers your own cells nearly 10 to 1. Bacteria line your gut, your skin, your mouth, your lungs, forming a living ecosystem that shapes your health, your digestion, and even your thoughts. They digest fibers you cannot, produce vitamins you need, and send chemical messages that influence your brain. The gut and the mind are not strangers. They are pen pals, writing to each other across the vagus nerve. When you feel anxiety in your stomach, it's not imagination, it's conversation. Science now suggests that these microbes play a role in mood, immunity, and even personality. They change with your diet, your stress, your environment. You are, in a very real sense, a collective, one being made from many. Inside you, civilizations rise and fall every hour, shaping the delicate balance that allows your body to thrive. Water carries all of it, the silent courier of life's messages. You are about 60% water, and that water is ancient, recycled endlessly through time. Some of the molecules flowing through your veins once coursed through the gills of trilobites, or fell as rain on primordial earth. In each cell, water holds the shape of proteins, dissolves nutrients, and carries electrical signals. It is both structure and space, both medium and message. Without water, the architecture collapses. With it, life becomes possible. Even the minerals in your body, calcium, phosphorus, iron, zinc, have cosmic histories. They come from supernova, from planetary dust, from the geology of the Earth itself. You are built not only from biology, but from geology and astronomy, a composite of everything that has ever existed. Every blink, every heartbeat, every whisper of thought depends on atoms that once danced in the heart of a dying star. A blueprint of your being is shared. Genetically, you are 99.9% identical to every other human alive. Only 0.1% makes you unique. The shape of your smile, the cadence of your voice, the way your eyes reflect the light. And yet, that sliver of variation has created all the faces, all the languages, all the diversity of humankind. The genome is generous. It allows difference without division. Despite its complexity, your body remains humble in its origins. The earliest cells, billions of years ago, learned a single trick: how to copy themselves. Everything that followed, every limb, every brain, every civilization, is a variation of that theme. You are not separate from those first cells. You are their continuation, refined by time. The same chemical spark that began life in the ocean now fuels your heartbeat. If you could shrink yourself down to the scale of atoms, you would see no clear boundary between you and the world. Your body is porous to existence. Atoms enter and leave constantly, through breath, food, touch, decay. In 1 year, 98% of the atoms in your body will be replaced. You are not static, but a current flowing through time. The pattern endures. The matter changes. Perhaps that is what life truly is. Not the possession of a body, but the continuation of a pattern. DNA is one pattern, consciousness another. And together, they weave the fabric of being human. A structure strong enough to endure, flexible enough to evolve, and mysterious enough to dream. In the quiet between breaths, remember this: you are built from ancient agreements. You are shaped by time and sustained by cooperation. You are not a single creature, but a harmony of countless lives. And all of them, every cell, every atom, move together in the architecture of life. Within the dark cathedral of your skull, a silent storm flickers. It is made of electricity, not the kind that burns or shocks, but the kind that thinks. Each second, billions of neurons whisper across microscopic gaps, sending messages faster than lightning. In this storm, your thoughts are born, your memories replay, your dreams unfold. The human brain weighs about 3 pounds, yet it holds more connections than there are stars in the Milky Way. Each of its 86 billion neurons can reach out to thousands of others, forming trillions of synapses, a living web of light and pattern. Every idea, every emotion, every word you've ever spoken or imagined is encoded in that shifting architecture. It is not static. It changes each moment you exist. When you learn something new, your brain rewires itself. Synapses strengthen or fade depending on how often they are used. Neural pathways rearrange, like roots seeking water. This process, neuroplasticity, is how the brain grows and adapts, sculpted by experience. You are never exactly the same person twice, even within a single day. Your brain is always active, even when you rest. In fact, when you close your eyes and drift into thought, it may work harder than during focused effort. The default mode network, a constellation of regions, lights up when you wander inward, recalling the past, imagining the future, or reflecting on yourself. It is the voice of your inner narrator, the silent companion that tells your life's story. Electric impulses alone do not make a mind. They are guided by chemistry, neurotransmitters that color the brain's messages with feeling. Dopamine sparks motivation, serotonin steadies mood, oxytocin fosters trust, endorphins soften pain. Each emotion has its molecular accent. When you fall in love, your brain floods with dopamine and oxytocin, creating warmth and attachment. When you grieve, cortisol and norepinephrine carve pathways of sorrow, helping you remember what was lost. Emotion, in the brain, is not separate from logic. It is the compass that gives thought direction. Every memory you hold, from your first cry to this very moment, began as a pattern of electrical activity. But memory is not a recording. It is a reconstruction. Each time you recall something, your brain rebuilds it anew, influenced by your current state. Memories change over time, softening around the edges, reshaping themselves to fit your evolving identity. You are, in part, the sum of everything you've remembered and everything you've forgotten. Dreams emerge from this same architecture. When you sleep, your brain does not rest. It reorganizes, prunes, and processes. The hippocampus replays the day's experiences, transferring them into long-term memory. Meanwhile, your imagination takes the stage, weaving fragments of thought into surreal narratives. In dreams, logic loosens its grip, and emotion becomes the author. This is why dreams can feel truer than reality. They speak the language of feeling, not fact. Sleep itself is one of humanity's oldest mysteries. It consumes a third of your life, yet its purpose is sacred to survival. During sleep, neurons synchronize, the body repairs tissue, and toxins are flushed from the brain through the lymphatic system, a cleansing tide that washes away the debris of thought. Without sleep, memory falters, emotion frays, and perception warps. To sleep is not to turn off. It is to reset. Beneath the conscious mind, another intelligence hums, the subconscious, the ancient machinery of survival. It monitors your heartbeat, balances hormones, detects patterns before awareness does. You can sense danger before you can explain why. This intuition is the echo of evolution, the mind of your ancestors speaking through instinct. But consciousness, that luminous self-awareness that asks, "Who am I?" remains the brain's greatest enigma. It cannot be touched, weighed, or seen, yet it shapes every perception. Some scientists describe it as the brain's integrated information, a symphony of neural signals so unified that it becomes aware of itself. Others suggest consciousness arises like a field, a property that emerges when complexity reaches a certain threshold. Whatever it is the flame that allows the brain to see itself thinking. Inside that flame, perception blooms. The brain does not see the world directly, it interprets it. Light enters the eyes, strikes the retina, and becomes electrical code. That code travels to the visual cortex, where the brain paints what you call sight. The same happens with sound, taste, touch, and smell, each sense translated into neural poetry. You never perceive reality itself, only the brain's version of it. In a way, you are living inside a simulation built by biology. Yet that simulation is astonishingly detailed. Your eyes can distinguish over 10 million colors. Your ears can sense vibrations as faint as a whisper of air. Your fingertips can detect textures smaller than 1,000th of a millimeter. Even in stillness, your brain is flooded with sensation, a quiet orchestra of the world playing within you. The brain's hemispheres, left and right, share the work. The left hemisphere handles language, logic, and analysis. The right attends to emotion, music, and spatial awareness. But they are not rivals. They are partners, bound by the corpus callosum, a bridge of nerve fibers carrying millions of messages each second. When they work in harmony, thought becomes whole. Within your head, time behaves strangely. The brain does not measure it directly. It constructs it. When you are afraid, seconds stretch. When you are in love, hours vanish. Time bends around emotion, proving that your perception of the universe is never objective. It is human. Every decision you make, from the smallest choice to the greatest leap, begins before you are aware of it. Neuroscientists have found that brain activity predicting a decision can appear milliseconds before conscious awareness. Free will, then, may be the art of interpreting choices already set in motion, like a surfer riding waves that began far out at sea. And still, there is wonder in that. Because even if choice begins in the depths of the brain, consciousness gives it meaning. It is the storyteller that turns impulse into purpose. In that sense, free will may not be the power to create action, but the power to create understanding. The human brain is not the largest, nor the fastest, nor the most efficient, but it is the most reflective. It can imagine the future, mourn the past, and ponder itself. It can build civilizations and question the stars. It can love. Within each neuron-s flicker lies the memory of the cosmos, hydrogen that once burned in suns, now arranged into thought. You are the universe becoming aware of itself, one electric signal at a time. And perhaps that is the brain's deepest truth. It is not a machine of logic, but an instrument of awe. Emotion is older than thought. Before words, before memory, before even reason, there was feeling. It was the first language of life, spoken not with sound, but with chemistry and motion. To feel was to survive, to sense danger, to seek warmth, to crave connection. And though you now live among cities and stars, the same ancient signals still shape your days. Your emotions begin deep within the brain, in structures far older than the neocortex. At their center lies the amygdala, two almond-shaped clusters that sit near the base of the brain, constantly scanning the world for meaning. When something startles you, it is the amygdala that flares first, sending an alarm before thought can intervene. In that heartbeat of instinct, you are as primal as your ancestors, a creature built to react, to protect, to live. Nearby, the hippocampus records context, weaving memory into feeling. If you once touched fire and felt pain, the hippocampus stores that moment, linking heat with danger. This partnership between memory and emotion ensures that life's lessons are never forgotten. It is why smells can awaken nostalgia, why songs can summon tears. Your brain is not a library. It is a landscape of feeling, each memory painted in the color of its emotion. Fear was the first teacher. It taught your ancestors to flee the predator, to seek shelter from the storm. It sharpened attention, quickened breath, and focused energy. But too much fear becomes a prison, the amygdala's warning never ending, the body always braced for threat. In modern life, that ancient system often misfires, reacting not to lions, but to deadlines, to loneliness, to imagined futures. The mind that once saved you now must learn to soothe itself. At the center of calm lies the parasympathetic system, the body's quiet counterbalance. It slows the heart, deepens the breath, restores equilibrium. Each slow exhale tells your body that you are safe. This is not metaphor. It is biology. Through the vagus nerve, breath and emotion are bound. A deep sigh is a reset, a bridge between body and mind. Then there is joy, that radiant surge of aliveness. Joy releases dopamine and serotonin, filling the brain with light. It does not always require reason. Sometimes it arrives uninvited, like sunlight through clouds. Neuroscience shows that even small acts of gratitude or kindness can trigger this chemistry. The brain rewards connection. It is wired to celebrate life. Love, too, has its science, though it resists definition. It is built from oxytocin, dopamine, and serotonin, yet it feels infinite. When you hold someone close, oxytocin floods the bloodstream, softening fear and deepening trust. It is the same molecule that bonds mother to child and partner to partner. But love is more than chemistry. It is the brain's decision to see another as part of the self, to extend identity beyond the boundary of skin. When two people fall in love, their heartbeats and breathing can synchronize. Their brains begin to mirror each other's patterns of activity, especially in regions linked to empathy and reward. Love is not a static emotion, but a shared state of resonance. You do not just feel it, you become it together. Even heartbreak has a biological echo. Loss activates the same pain circuits as physical injury. The body mourns as if wounded, and indeed it is, not in flesh, but in meaning. Tears carry stress hormones, and crying helps release them. Grief is the body's way of remembering what mattered most. Empathy, the ability to feel what another feels, may be one of humanity's most miraculous adaptations. In the brain, it begins with mirror neurons, cells that fire both when you act and when you see someone else act. When another smiles, your neurons smile too. When another suffers, the same circuits light within you. It is not imagination. It is connection written into biology. Empathy binds individuals into communities, turning survival into compassion. But empathy has limits. To feel the pain of the whole world would be unbearable. So the mind narrows its focus, choosing the faces it knows, the causes it understands. Yet every small act of empathy sends ripples outward, unseen but real. Kindness multiplies through mimicry, spreading across hearts like fire catching in dry grass. Emotion shapes perception. When you are afraid, the world appears sharper, colder, more distant. When you are in love, colors deepen, time slows, the air itself seems to glow. Neuroscientists have found that mood alters the way your brain filters sensory input. Reality bends through the lens of feeling. You never see the world as it is, only as you are. Even loneliness, though painful, has purpose. It is the hunger for connection, as vital to the mind as food is to the body. Social isolation increases stress hormones, weakens immunity, and disrupts sleep. We are social creatures by design. Our brains evolved to exist in relationship. When we feel unseen, the body responds as if endangered. And when we are held, both physically and emotionally, the brain quiets its alarms. Inside every emotion lies a message. Anger says, something must change. Sadness says, something has been lost. Joy says, you are safe here. Each one asks to be felt, not denied. When ignored, emotions become storms within the nervous system. When acknowledged, they become guidance. Even silence has emotional weight. In moments of stillness, the brain rebalances. Waves of activity slow, the heart finds rhythm, the breath deepens. Meditation, mindfulness, prayer, whatever name you give to the act of being, calms the limbic system and strengthens the prefrontal cortex, allowing emotion and reason to coexist. In those moments, the mind becomes both observer and ocean, still and vast, aware of its own depths. Humans are emotional alchemists. You can transform fear into courage, pain into art, grief into compassion. Your nervous system provides the raw material. Consciousness provides the direction. That transformation, invisible yet universal, is what makes you human. Science can describe the molecules, the circuits, the waves. But emotion is where biology meets poetry. A heartbeat quickening in love, a tear forming at a song, a smile shared between strangers. These are not just signals in the brain. They are moments when existence becomes aware of itself and chooses to care. You are not only a thinker, you are a feeler, a vessel for the full spectrum of experience. Within you, storms and sunlight coexist. You are both the observer and the ocean, endlessly shaped by tides of emotion, endlessly returning to calm. Close your eyes. What you see now, the shapes behind your eyelids, the flicker of thought, the drift of memory, is the only universe you will ever truly inhabit. It is small and infinite at once, bounded by bone, yet capable of containing galaxies. This is consciousness, the invisible theater where the entire play of life unfolds. Inside your skull, about 86 billion neurons whisper to each other in electrical light. Each neuron connects to thousands of others, forming trillions of links, a living web more complex than any network humans have ever built. Somewhere within this endless tangle of signals, the sense of you arises. No one knows exactly how. Science can trace the pathways of perception, how photons strike the retina, how sound waves stir the cochlea, but the leap from matter to meaning remains a mystery. We can explain the mechanics of thought, but not the experience of it. Why should a cluster of atoms be aware of itself? Why should it feel sadness, joy, awe, or love? No machine or equation yet answers that question. Consciousness may be the most astonishing fact of all, that the universe has, in at least one corner, become aware of its own existence. Through you, the cosmos observes itself. Your eyes are its windows, your thoughts its reflections. Each time you wonder about life, you are the universe contemplating its own nature. The self you experience, the I that speaks silently inside your head, is not a single thing, but a process. It is formed from memory, shaped by emotion, and rewritten each moment. Your mind is a storyteller, stitching fragments of experience into a continuous narrative. Even when you sleep, the story continues, dreaming itself into coherence. Memory is not a recording, but a reconstruction. Each time you recall a moment, you recreate it, slightly altered, reshaped by the present. The past is a living organism, changing as you do. In a sense, you never remember the event itself, only the last memory of remembering it. Your mind is a painter, not a camera. And yet, without memory, identity collapses. We are made of what we have seen, loved, lost, and learned. Your memories are not just stories. They are the raw material of selfhood. They connect you to time, giving continuity to existence. But even as memory anchors you, it deceives you. The human brain fills gaps with invention, confuses sequences, reshapes truth to preserve meaning. We forget far more than we remember, and still, we feel certain of who we are. Perhaps that is the secret. We are not designed for accuracy, but for coherence. The mind chooses what to keep, and calls that truth. Dreams are proof of the imagination's power to build entire worlds from nothing. Every night, your brain constructs universes, landscapes, faces, sensations, out of memory and emotion. While you sleep, you are both creator and witness. You walk through illusions so vivid, they can make you weep, though none of it is real. And when you wake, they vanish, leaving only the feeling that something profound just happened. No one truly knows why we dream. Some say it is the brain's way of processing emotion, sorting chaos into meaning. Others see it as evolution's rehearsal space, a safe arena to practice fear and survival. But perhaps dreams are something deeper, reminders that reality itself is partly imagined, that perception is always a construction of the mind. Consider this. Your senses capture only a thin sliver of existence. The visible spectrum is less than 1% of all light. Your ears hear only a narrow band of frequencies. Outside those limits, an entire cosmos hums unseen. You do not perceive reality directly. You experience a version of it your biology allows. Each creature lives within its own sensory universe, a bubble of awareness tuned to survival. A bat navigates with sound. A bee sees ultraviolet. A shark senses electricity. And humans, with sight and thought, build symbolic worlds. Your reality is not the world. It is your world, filtered through flesh and interpreted by mind. Within this fragile construct, emotion gives color to existence. Fear sharpens it. Joy expands it. Love transforms it. Neuroscience can map the chemicals involved, dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, but no scan can capture the feeling of a sunset, the warmth of touch, or the ache of longing. These are private universes, experienced but never fully described. Every emotion is a form of knowledge. Grief teaches impermanence. Wonder teaches humility. Love teaches connection. Each feeling is an organ of perception, revealing truths logic alone cannot reach. To feel deeply is not weakness. It is the mind remembering that it has a heart, and in that heart lies mortality. To be human is to know that everything ends. No other animal contemplates its own death with such clarity. You carry that awareness always, like a shadow beneath consciousness. It shapes your art, your fear, your compassion. Mortality gives meaning to every breath. The ancient philosophers called this awareness memento mori, remember that you must die. But they also saw it as liberation. When you accept the transience of life, you begin to see its beauty more clearly. A flower is precious because it fades. A moment is sacred because it cannot return. In this way, death is not the opposite of life. It is its definition. Across cultures, humans have tried to transcend this truth. We built myths of afterlives, heavens, reincarnations, reflections of our need to imagine continuation. Perhaps these stories are not lies, but expressions of something deeply human. The refusal to believe that awareness could simply stop. Even if the body ends, the story seeks to go on. Yet, even without eternity, there is continuity. Your atoms came from ancient stars. The calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood, all forged in stellar furnaces long before the earth was born. When you die, they return to the cosmos, ready to become soil, leaf, or light again. You are temporary, but nothing of you is lost. The self is a wave, not a stone, rising, folding, dissolving back into the sea. You are both transient and eternal, a brief pattern in the endless movement of the universe. Perhaps that is the real immortality, not in memory or spirit, but in participation. Some say consciousness is not produced by the brain, but received by it, like a radio catching cosmic frequencies of awareness. If so, then death may be less an end than a change of signal, a return to silence. No one knows. But maybe mystery is the point. If we understood everything, wonder would disappear. In the quiet of reflection, you might feel that small, infinite thing within you, the watcher behind your thoughts. It has no name, no shape, yet it is more real than anything you see. It is the part of you that has been present in every moment of your life, unaging, unchanged. Call it soul, call it awareness, call it what you will. It is the light that makes the mirror shine. You are not merely in the universe. You are the universe, aware of itself, dreaming of meaning. And in the vast silence between stars, that awareness is the rarest phenomenon of all. The cosmos may be immense, but consciousness gives it intimacy. Because of you, existence has a witness. Because of you, the universe knows it is beautiful. Time. It moves through you like a river you can never step into twice. You feel it passing, yet you never see it. Each moment arrives, lives for an instant, and disappears, leaving behind only the ghost of memory. The human brain does not measure time precisely. It feels it. Seconds stretch when you are afraid and collapse when you are in love. To the mind, time is elastic, a fabric woven from attention and emotion. Children perceive days as endless because every sight is new. Adults blink and seasons vanish. Novelty slows time. Familiarity dissolves it. Neuroscientists say that time is not sensed directly, but constructed, stitched together from rhythm, pattern, and memory. When you recall your life, what you really hold are the moments your mind deemed meaningful. All the rest passed through like light through glass. There is a strange comfort in that. The years you fear losing are not truly gone. They are folded within you, condensed into wisdom, into the subtle ways you see the world. Time does not erase. It transforms. Inside you, there are two clocks. One beats in seconds, the pulse in your wrist, the cycle of breath. The other beats in meaning, the slow rhythm of becoming who you are. Both are real, yet they rarely agree. When you create something, a song, a story, a gesture of kindness, you borrow from the eternal clock. You make something that might outlast you. Every act of creation is rebellion against decay. You cannot stop time, but you can leave patterns in its flow. Think of art. Think of language. Each word you speak today is built from the breath of those who came before. You are never truly speaking alone. Behind every word, 1,000 ancestors whisper through you. The same is true of thought. Ideas are not born from nothing. They are inherited and reshaped. Your mind is not a closed room. It is a field, and thought moves across it like weather. When a new idea arrives, it is not created but found. Discovery is simply recognition, the moment your mind aligns with the truth that was waiting all along. Perhaps consciousness itself is like that, not invented by biology, but uncovered by it. Maybe the brain is not the source, but the instrument, a violin carved by evolution to resonate with awareness. When the strings vibrate just right, the song of self begins. No one knows whether consciousness is unique to humans. It may flicker in other creatures, in whales that sing to one another across oceans, in elephants that grieve, in ravens that hide their dead. Awareness could be older than thought, older than speech, a quiet flame that has burned through countless forms. Even plants sense the world in ways we are only beginning to understand. They communicate through chemical messages and electrical pulses in their roots. They remember droughts. They anticipate light. Perhaps life itself, in all its forms, is a spectrum of awareness, consciousness as a gradient, not a switch. And what of love, that most mysterious signal of all? Biology explains its chemistry, yet its meaning lies elsewhere. To love is to extend the boundary of the self until another becomes part of it. You feel their joy as your own, their pain as yours. It is a merging of identities, a reminder that separation was always an illusion. When a mother holds her child, her brain's rhythms synchronize with the child's heartbeat. When two lovers gaze into each other's eyes, their pupils mirror each other's sighs. When a choir sings in harmony, the hearts of every singer begin to beat as one. Connection is not metaphorical, it is measurable. You are built for resonance. That resonance gives rise to empathy, the invisible thread that holds humanity together. Through empathy, your nervous system becomes porous. The boundary between I and you blurs. It is what allows you to feel the sorrow of strangers, the fear of distant lives. Empathy is proof that consciousness is not isolated, it is communal. In quiet moments, when you feel a sudden ache for something you cannot name, that is awareness reaching beyond itself, recognizing the vastness from which it came. The German word Sehnsucht describes this, an intense, almost sweet longing for something infinite. You feel it in music, in art, in the sight of the horizon, the call of the eternal through the fragile. Every human carries that longing. It is why we look at the stars and imagine meaning, why we build temples, write poems, and search for God in every silence. Perhaps this yearning is not a flaw, but a compass, a reminder that consciousness is not content to remain confined within flesh. It seeks expansion, connection, transcendence. And yet, for all our searching, the answers remain elusive. The mind reaches for eternity, but eternity cannot be held. So we learn instead to dwell in mystery, to live without full understanding, yet to find peace in the not knowing. Wonder, after all, is not ignorance. It is reverence. Every question you have ever asked, who am I? Why am I here? What happens when I die? Is the echo of the universe asking itself. Your curiosity is the cosmos exploring its own design. You are not separate from the mystery. You are its expression. And maybe that is enough. Maybe meaning is not something you find, but something you create in every act of kindness, in every breath of awe. To live fully is to say, I do not understand, but I am grateful to be part of it. When you sit in stillness, when the noise of thought quiets and awareness remains, you feel a simple truth. You are here. That is miracle enough. The infinite was never beyond you. It was within you all along, the silent witness behind every heartbeat, every breath, every flicker of time. Before you were human, you were Earth. Every atom in your body, every breath, every spark of energy comes from the planet beneath your feet. Your bones are mountain dust. Your blood is the memory of the sea. When you drink water, you are drinking ancient rain. the same droplets that once fell on forests before the first human spoke. You are not living on Earth. You are living as Earth. Your existence is an extension of its geology, its chemistry, its endless experimentation with form. Life is the planet dreaming itself awake. For billions of years, Earth slept beneath the stars. Then, slowly through sunlight and storm, it began to breathe. Cells formed, merged, multiplied. The first spark of awareness, faint and instinctive, shimmered in the ocean's depths. And from that single shimmer came everything that would one day laugh, think, build, and love. The story of humanity begins not with us, but with water. In every one of your cells, there are traces of the ocean where life was born. The salt in your sweat is the same as the salt in the sea. Your tears carry its signature. When you weep, you return to that ancient source. Even your heartbeat echoes the waves, pulsing in rhythm with the planet's oldest tide. You are the ocean, condensed into motion. And though we built cities far from its shores, the sea still calls to us. Perhaps that is why its sound feels so calming. It is the lullaby our species evolved to. From that ocean, life crept onto land, carrying its chemistry like a memory. The first amphibians breathed air, and so did you. Your lungs are still shaped by their ancient design. Your spine, once a swimmer's tail, now carries you upright through gravity's pull. Evolution is not a ladder, but a story of adaptation, and the body you inhabit is a living record of every chapter. You share your DNA with mushrooms, trees, even the bacteria beneath your skin. Half of your genes are identical to those of a banana. We are not separate from nature. We are its continuation. Life does not compete with life. It collaborates in infinite forms. When you inhale, you take in oxygen made by plants. When you exhale, you give them carbon in return. Every breath is a quiet act of partnership, a silent contract between worlds. In this cycle, nothing is lost, only transformed. Your breath, your warmth, your voice, all of it moves through the same atmosphere that has circled the planet for 4 billion years. Some of the air you breathe once passed through the lungs of ancient animals, a dinosaur, a mammoth, a human long forgotten. The wind carries history. Each breath connects you to every living being that has ever existed. You are not alone in the act of living. You are participating in a shared inheritance. When humans first stood upright on the plains of Africa, they did so beneath the same stars you see tonight. Our ancestors walked through grasslands lit by firelight, their shadows stretching long across the earth. They looked at the sky and wondered, just as you do now. That sense of wonder, that pull toward the infinite, may be the oldest emotion we share. For hundreds of thousands of years, we were wanderers. We followed the rhythm of the planet, the migrations of herds, the bloom of seasons, the rise and fall of rivers. Our bodies were shaped by that movement. Legs for walking, hands for crafting, eyes attuned to the horizon. Even now, in the stillness of modern life, there is a restlessness deep in your muscles, a memory of motion. To be human is to belong to the earth even when we forget. We build walls and cities, yet beneath every floor lies soil. We pave rivers into roads, yet our hearts still quicken at the sound of rain. The planet does not hold a grudge, it waits. It waits for us to remember that we are part of it. Your heartbeat syncs with nature more than you realize. Studies show that human stress levels drop in the presence of trees, that heart rates slow when looking at water, that the scent of soil triggers the release of serotonin in the brain. We were not designed to live apart from nature. Our nervous systems still recognize it as home. Even our sense of time comes from Earth. Day and night, the turning of seasons, the waxing of the moon, these cycles shape the very rhythm of our biology. Your circadian rhythm is a faint echo of planetary motion. Inside your brain, cells called suprachiasmatic nuclei track the sun's journey, keeping your internal clock aligned with the world outside. Your sleep, your hunger, your wakefulness, All are tied to the sky's slow spinning. And yet, despite that bond, we have learned to forget it. We flood the night with artificial suns. We turn forests into grids, rivers into maps. We live in a hum of engines louder than the heartbeat of nature. But the planet remembers us, even when we do not remember it. In every drought, in every storm, it calls us back to humility. It reminds us that we are not the masters of nature, but its expression. The earth does not belong to us. We belong to it. Our survival depends on remembering this truth. And still, even in our forgetting, there is beauty. Because humans are not only destroyers, we are also rebuilders, dreamers, healers. We plant forests in deserts. We rescue species from extinction. We write laws to protect rivers and poems to honor them. Somewhere within us, the old memory stirs, the one that knows the land is kin. Every culture on earth once had a word for this relationship, for the sacred balance between giving and taking. In Bori, it is Ketayakatanga, guardianship. In Navajo, Hazo, harmony and beauty intertwined. In the Philippines, Bayanihan, collective spirit, shared care. Each language holds a fragment of an ancient understanding that survival is a communal act, not just among people, but with the world itself. Your body proves this truth. When you eat, you transform sunlight caught by plants into thought, movement, emotion. When you sleep, your temperature drops to match the rhythm of night. When you cry, your tears fall back to the soil from which you came. Every process in you is a reflection of the planet's own cycles. Even your perception of beauty, the curve of a leaf, the shimmer of water, the sound of birdsong, is not random. It evolved because what is beautiful is often what sustains life. We find harmony in nature because we were shaped by it. Our aesthetic sense is biological memory, the body remembering where it belongs. You carry the earth's story in your senses, your bones, your breath. And though civilization has built towers and networks that stretch across continents, every skyscraper still stands on ancient stone, every satellite still circles under the pull of gravity, the same force that shaped the tides that beats in your chest. So when you feel small before the vastness of the world, remember, the vastness is not separate from you. It is your origin and your reflection. The planet is not beneath your feet. It is within your body. And through you, it knows itself. You are Earth, aware of its own fragility. You are the living conscience of a planet that has learned to speak. Every heartbeat is a reminder that nature has not ended. It has simply taken human form to look at the sky and whisper, I am here. For most of our history, the earth was not a resource. It was a relationship. The soil was not owned, but honored. The rivers were not measured, but remembered. Every dawn and every storm carried meaning, because survival depended on listening. Long before maps and borders, our ancestors read the world like a living text. They learned the language of wind, the rhythm of migration, the patterns of stars. Each constellation was a compass, each season a verse in the ongoing poem of life. To live was to interpret the signs, the call of a bird, the bend of a branch, the smell of rain before it came. That sensitivity was not superstition. It was science in its earliest form, observation sharpened by necessity, guided by reverence. The world spoke through phenomena, and humanity replied with adaptation. Even today, some part of you can sense the weather changing before the storm breaks. Your body, like your ancestors, still carries the instincts of the wild. When humans began to plant seeds, the story of the planet entered a new chapter. Agriculture transformed both Earth and us. We learned to stay, to cultivate, to shape landscapes to our will. Villages grew beside rivers. Fire became hearth. And for the first time, we became architects of our environment, not just participants in it, but the earth adapted to us too. Wheat evolved alongside human hands. Corn became sweeter. Dogs became companions. We think of evolution as something that happened long ago, but it continues still, life adjusting to the presence of humanity, humanity adapting to the life it alters. You are not a finished product. You are still becoming, in dialogue with the world. As civilizations rose, the relationship deepened and grew more complicated. We began to mine the planet's memory, metals forged from the bones of stars, fuels drawn from ancient forests compressed by time. We learned to turn stone into cities, rivers into power. But in doing so, we began to forget the conversation we once had. We spoke louder and listened less. And yet, even amid the noise of industry and progress, Earth still finds ways to remind us of its presence. In the silence that follows an earthquake, in the eerie calm before a storm, in the way the air changes before the first drop of rain. It speaks not in words, but in balance, in feedback loops and consequences. When forests fall, rivers dry. When oceans warm, the wind changes. Nature does not punish. It responds. The laws that govern it are not moral, but mathematical, and in that precision lies wisdom. Still, within us, the old reverence flickers. We stand before mountains and instinctively fall silent. We stare at sunsets as though looking through a window into eternity. That awe is not just emotion. It is recognition. We know deep down that the world we marvel at is also our home, our origin, our reflection. You can feel it in the way sunlight moves across your skin. Photons that left the sun 8 minutes ago warm your face. Energy from a star translated into sensation. The sunlight that falls on a leaf becomes sugar, then fruit, then nourishment for your body. In that moment, the boundary between you and the world disappears. You are part of a single chain of transformation, light into life, life into awareness. Even your breath plays its role in this cycle. The carbon you exhale today may one day feed a forest, and the oxygen you breathe may have been released by a single leaf in the Amazon, or a plankton bloom drifting far out at sea. Every inhalation is a quiet communion with the rest of the living world. You are not just in the biosphere. You are the biosphere, conscious of itself. Human hands have built wonders, towers, satellites, machines that pierce the fabric of space. But the most extraordinary creation remains invisible. The bond between species, sustained through air and water, through unseen exchange. Without the bees, no flowers. Without the flowers, no fruit. Without the fruit, no you. The web of life does not end with us. It begins with us too. But there is fragility in this balance. The planet is vast, but not infinite. We are more powerful than any creature before us, and more dependent on restraint than we have ever been. Every decision we make is a conversation with the Earth's future. Each act of care or neglect ripples through the generations to come. And still, hope endures. Because humans, for all our flaws, are capable of remembering what we have forgotten. We can restore forests, clean rivers, and heal coral. We can relearn the art of listening. All it takes is humility, the quiet realization that we are not separate from nature, but expressions of it. When we speak of saving the earth, what we truly mean is saving our place within it. The planet will survive without us. It always has. But we cannot survive without it. Our fate is not a choice between prosperity and preservation. It is the understanding that both are the same. In the whisper of leaves and the rhythm of waves, the message remains unchanged. Life thrives on balance. That truth is older than language, older than humanity. And though we build civilizations that scrape the sky, that law still applies, written not in ink, but in the very chemistry of existence. Somewhere, beneath the noise of engines and the hum of screens, the ancient rhythm still beats. The song of wind through grass, the murmur of water beneath ice, the pulse of the planet in sync with your own. When you walk barefoot on the ground, the earth feels you. Your body completes a circuit millions of years in the making electricity flowing between living things. You are part of a network far greater than any built by human hands. And one day, when our cities fade and our monuments crumble, the planet will continue to breathe. Forests will reclaim the stone. Oceans will smooth the scars we left behind. And life, always persistent, always brave, will find a way to begin again. Perhaps in that renewal, the story will continue, not as a loss, but as a transformation. Because in truth, the earth has never been fragile. It is ancient, adaptable, enduring. It is we who are fragile, brief sparks in its long memory. But through awareness, we can become its caretakers instead of its burden. We can choose to live not as conquerors, but as companions. And maybe, if we listen closely enough, the earth will whisper back, "Welcome home." Somewhere in the long arc of human history, a shift occurred. The world no longer lived only inside the skin of a single body. Thought began to echo between minds. One person's fear became a warning. One person's wonder became a story. And through those stories, humanity began to think together. Language was our first bridge. At first, it may have been only gestures and sounds, the rhythm of hands, the rise and fall of tone. But from those small beginnings, meaning bloomed. We learned to give names to things, and in doing so, gave them permanence. A word could hold the shape of an object long after it was gone. It could summon memories, call others to action, or comfort the grieving in silence. When you speak, you do not just share air, you share mind. The vibration of your voice becomes electricity in another person's brain. Your thoughts jump the gap of space, becoming their thoughts. No other species has mastered this like we have. The human tongue, flexible and tireless, became the key to civilization. Language allowed us to pass time from one generation to another. It let us escape the limits of memory. We could warn about floods not yet seen, describe lands not yet reached, dream futures not yet born. Every myth, every law, every idea, carried by sound. You are surrounded by ghosts made of words, the voices of ancestors who lived and died thousands of years before you, still speaking through the books they left behind. But speech alone was not enough. We needed a way to remember what voices forgot. So we drew on cave walls, on clay, on bark. Each mark was a piece of consciousness, pinned to the physical world. Over centuries, those marks became writing. Writing, in turn, became civilization's mirror, a memory that did not fade with death. The first tablets told of harvests and deaths. The next told of gods and kings. But beneath all the records and rituals, the same quiet impulse guided the hand to remember, to leave a trace that says, "I was here." Even now, in your daily life, you live inside this shared memory. Every word you read or write, every idea you repeat, is part of a collective mind, an endless conversation stretching across time. What you know is not yours alone. It is borrowed from millions of others. You are built of what others have thought. Inside your skull, about 86 billion neurons are firing, connecting, forming networks of astonishing complexity. But when you meet another person, when you speak, laugh, love, or argue, those networks link beyond your skin. Two brains synchronize, rhythms aligning for a moment. Your heartbeats even shift slightly in time. Connection is not a metaphor. It is measurable, physical. Science calls this neural entrainment, the synchronizing of brainwaves between people in conversation. When you truly understand someone, when you feel seen or heard, your neurons literally mirror theirs. The boundary between self and other softens. Empathy is biology's bridge to unity. It may be why loneliness hurts as much as hunger. We are wired not for isolation, but for resonance. To be cut off from others is to lose an essential part of what it means to be human. Our brains evolved to think together. Every culture, every innovation, every act of creation, born from collaboration, never solitude. From that web of minds came civilization. We built cities, not just to shelter, but to gather. We built markets to trade, temples to worship, theaters to dream aloud. Even now, our greatest works, art, science, technology, are collective projects of imagination. The light bulb, the telescope, the symphony, all born from shared thought, from one idea lighting another. Consider how ideas move through time. A single spark of insight in an ancient workshop can ripple outward for centuries. The mathematics of the Babylonians guided the stars of Galileo. The philosophy of Greece whispers still in modern law. The art of forgotten hands shapes how we see beauty today. Humanity's memory is cumulative, every generation stacking its thoughts upon the next, like coral building a reef. Each one small, but together, infinite. Culture is the ocean we swim in, invisible, yet shaping every movement. It tells us what to value, what to fear, what to dream. No one invents culture alone. It emerges when countless voices overlap, blending into something larger than any one life. You can hear it in the music of every era, from drum beats echoing through African nights to digital waves pulsing through global networks. Each rhythm is a signature of collective memory, beating in time with the heart of humanity itself. Even technology, often seen as the symbol of individuality, is, at its core, communal. Every device, every code, every engine is the product of collaboration, of trial and error, shared across generations. A smartphone, held in your palm, contains the knowledge of entire civilizations. No single person could build it from scratch. It is an artifact of the collective mind, a mirror reflecting how deeply we depend on one another. The internet, too, is a new kind of organism. Billions of humans connected by invisible threads of information. It remembers everything. It learns, forgets, and rewrites itself. It hums with the constant exchange of ideas, a neural network of humanity made visible. In a way, it is the brain stream made real, a global consciousness in which every individual spark contributes to a larger fire. But with such power comes reflection and responsibility. Connection can heal, but it can also divide. Ideas can enlighten, but also mislead. The same circuits that carry wisdom can spread fear. We are still learning how to hold this vast web without breaking it. And yet, even through the noise, there are moments when the collective quiets. When millions pause to look at the same image, the first photograph of Earth from space, a pale blue dot suspended in darkness. In that shared silence, something ancient stirs. Recognition. A reminder that beneath language and borders, we are one. The collective mind is not perfect. It dreams and forgets, creates and destroys. But it carries within it the same spark that lights every human life, the desire to understand. Each of us is a neuron in this larger brain, sending signals across the span of history. And together, we form the story of what it means to be aware. When you speak, you are the voice of the species. When you listen, you are its memory. When you imagine, you are its dream. The collective mind is not somewhere out there. It is here, in the spaces between us, in the stories we tell, in the love we share. It is humanity thinking itself into being. And one day, when our descendants look back at this moment, at the tangled, beautiful web we wove, they will see not chaos, but connection. They will hear the faint hum of billions of lives intertwined, like the soft static of the cosmos itself. And they will know, this too was consciousness. There is a quiet miracle in how minds meet. A glance across a crowded room, a note in a melody, a gesture. These are threads in an invisible tapestry. Connection does not always require words. Sometimes it arrives as understanding without speech, as resonance without reason. You have felt it before, the stillness between two people who know each other as thoughts before they re-spoken. That, too, is the collective mind at work. The human brain is not only a receiver of information, it is a transmitter of emotion. Our faces alone contain 43 muscles, capable of creating more than 10,000 expressions. Each movement tells a story without language: joy, sorrow, fear, empathy, love. When you smile, another brain, seeing your face, mirrors that emotion automatically. This is emotional contagion, the ancient circuitry that makes compassion possible. Your joy lights the neurons of others. Your pain vibrates through unseen channels of empathy. The mind, it seems, was never meant to exist in isolation. Some scientists call this the social brain hypothesis, that intelligence itself evolved not for survival alone, but for connection. Our ancestors who could read emotions, who could cooperate and share stories, were the ones who thrived. Knowledge became a collective adaptation. We grew smart together, not in competition, but in collaboration. Over time, those small bonds of cooperation became culture, and culture became the container of our consciousness. Through art, music, and ritual, we began to express the inner worlds that words could not hold. When the first pigments touched cave walls, they carried not just images, but identity, proof that someone had seen and wanted to be seen. Those hands, painted in ochre and ash, were early signatures of humanity's shared mind. They reached across millennia, whispering, "I am here. I was once alive. You are not alone." Art remains that bridge, a timeless form of communication between souls. A melody composed centuries ago can still move a listener to tears today. The brushstrokes of a painter long gone can awaken something wordless within you. That is the power of collective memory, emotion preserved in form. Through art, humanity built a language that does not fade, and through it, we remember not only who we were, but what we felt. When you stand before a great work, a cathedral, a poem, a song, you are standing inside the accumulated dream of countless minds. Each stone, each word, each note was placed by hands that believed in beauty, in meaning, in something larger than themselves. You are surrounded by echoes of those who came before, shaping not just the world you inhabit, but the thoughts you think, because even your imagination is not yours alone. Every idea you've ever had was born from a web of influence, from books you've read, stories you've heard, faces you've seen, moments you've loved or lost. You are an intersection of experiences, a living archive of human thought. Every decision, every dream, every doubt, all part of a conversation that began long before you were born and will continue long after you are gone. Perhaps that is why we long to be remembered. It is not vanity, but continuity, the ancient desire to remain part of the story, to add a verse to the song of our species, to say in whatever way we can, "I was here too." In the modern age, our voices travel farther than ever. We leave digital traces across the planet, messages, photographs, fragments of memory. The collective mind now spans continents, humming through invisible networks of light. A single idea can circle the globe in seconds. A single image can unite billions in awe or grief or wonder. The pace of connection has become the heartbeat of civilization itself. But in that vastness, something fragile emerges, the need for silence. Even the collective mind requires moments of stillness to understand itself. Without pause, thought becomes noise. And so, even in the age of constant communication, we return to ancient practices of reflection, meditation, solitude, sleep. It is there in quietness that the collective reorganizes, like the brain during a dream. Rest is not disconnection. It is integration. It is how the mind, both individual and shared, heals. Dreams, too, belong to the collective story. Across cultures and ages, humans have dreamt of flight, of death, of reunion, of falling, of being chased or embraced by forces unseen. No matter where we are born, our dreams share common patterns, symbols that rise from the deep ocean of the unconscious. Carl Jung once called it the collective unconscious, the reservoir of archetypes and emotions shared by all people. In that place, beneath the surface of waking thought, the boundaries between self and species blur. You dream with the same mind that dreamed in ancient caves. Even memory, which feels so personal, is collective in nature. When you recall a story told by your parents, you are carrying their memories as your own. Their fears, their hopes, their triumphs become woven into the fabric of your identity. Generations intertwine within you. Your blood, your language, your gestures all shaped by countless lives that came before. You are a walking continuation of humanity's unfinished thought. Every act of kindness, every invention, every song hummed softly in the dark, all of it accumulates. The world we live in now is not built from stone and metal alone, but from the invisible architecture of shared intention. Each good deed strengthens the structure. Each cruelty weakens it. The collective mind is fragile, but endlessly self-correcting. It seeks balance, harmony, understanding, even when we do not. And so, we continue to evolve, not just biologically, but culturally, intellectually, spiritually. Each new discovery expands what it means to be human. Each moment of compassion stretches the limits of our empathy. Every conversation, no matter how small, alters the shape of the collective mind forever. Perhaps in the end, this is what consciousness truly is, not a spark in a single skull, but a flame passed endlessly from one person to another. An idea, shared and reshaped, becomes memory. A memory, shared and retold, becomes culture. And culture, passed through time, becomes humanity itself. When you speak to another person, you are participating in that eternal exchange. When you listen, you honor the billions of lives that made that moment possible. You are the continuation of every voice that ever asked, "Who are we? Why are we here?" The answers are not written in stone. They live in conversation, in connection, in the gentle hum of thought shared between hearts. And if you listen closely, beneath all the noise and motion of our modern age, you can still hear it. The whisper of minds across time, dreaming together in the great sleep of civilization. You can hear the rhythm of countless hearts beating as one, the pulse of humanity itself, alive in you. There is something inside you that no microscope can see, no scan can define, and no equation can fully explain. It is the quiet witness behind your thoughts, the watcher who hears your own mind speak. It is consciousness, the simple, impossible awareness that you exist. For all our science, for all our understanding of neurons and synapses, we still do not know how awareness arises. We can trace the electrical storms inside the brain, the bursts of activity that create perception, memory, emotion. But the leap from matter to mind remains the greatest mystery. How does a network of cells give birth to a sense of self? How does the universe, through you, come to know it exists? Some call it the hard problem of consciousness, the question not of how the brain functions, but how it feels. Because inside your skull, there is no color, no sound, no taste, only chemical signals and electrical pulses. And yet, when you open your eyes, you see light. When you listen, you hear music. When you love, you feel meaning. Reality somehow becomes experience. Your brain is a galaxy of nearly 86 billion neurons, each forming thousands of connections. Every thought you have is a constellation of activity, patterns of light flickering across this inner cosmos. When you imagine something, your brain simulates it as though it were real. When you remember, it replays the pattern of the past, allowing you to feel time in both directions. Your consciousness is not a static flame. It is an ever-shifting ocean, with waves of thought rising and fading every moment. And yet, beneath that motion, there is stillness, the awareness that watches all of it unfold. It is there when you wake, and there when you dream. It does not age, even as your body changes. It is the same silent observer that was present when you were a child, though everything else has changed. It is the thread that carries you through time. Science can describe its mechanisms, but not its essence. Philosophy can name it, but not capture it. Perhaps consciousness is not something we have, but something we are. Maybe it is not inside us at all. Maybe we are inside it. Some traditions have long whispered this possibility, that consciousness is not a property of the brain, but the ground of existence itself. That awareness is not born from matter, but matter from awareness. That every particle, every atom, every pulse of energy in the universe carries a trace of perception, a seed of mind. And that, in us, those seeds bloom into reflection. It is not a belief, but a wonder, a doorway we can choose to open or not. Science and spirit, perhaps, are not opposites, but two languages describing the same mystery. Both seek to understand why there is something, rather than nothing, and why that something can know itself. When you dream, the world within you feels as vivid as the one outside. Your mind constructs mountains and faces, music and motion, all from memory and imagination. And when you wake, you realize that the dream world was not less real. It was simply made of thought instead of matter. Consciousness, then, may be the ultimate artist, painting entire realities within and without. Consider this. The atoms in your body were once inside stars. They burned, scattered, and coalesced again into the shape that is you. The iron in your blood, the calcium in your bones, the carbon in your breath, all of it once drifted through interstellar space. And now, those same atoms have learned to think, to love, to ask questions. You are the universe, observing itself with curiosity and awe. Carl Sagan once said, "We are a way for the cosmos to know itself." And perhaps that is the simplest, truest description of consciousness we have. Every human life is a single point of awareness in the vast expanse of being, a brief flicker through which existence looks inward and whispers, "I am." There is humility in that realization. For all our achievements, we remain small, fragile creatures on a pale blue world, circling an ordinary star. And yet, within each of us is a capacity for infinite wonder. That paradox, the tiny and the vast, the mortal and the eternal, is what makes being human so extraordinary. We seek to understand everything, yet part of us resists understanding. We build telescopes to look outward and microscopes to look inward, only to find that both directions lead to mystery. The deeper we peer into matter, the more it dissolves into fields of probability. The deeper we peer into mind, the more it dissolves into awareness itself. At both ends of exploration, we find the same silence, an echo of infinity. In that silence, many have found peace. Because if consciousness is the foundation of existence, then nothing is ever truly separate. Your thoughts ripple through others. Your actions shape futures you will never see. Every kindness, every discovery, every act of love becomes part of the unfolding of awareness itself. Perhaps this is what it means to be alive, to be both an individual and an instrument of something vast. To experience separation while remaining part of unity. To live with the knowledge that everything you are will one day return to the same great stillness, and that this too is beautiful. When you close your eyes at night and drift into sleep, your consciousness does not end. It shifts. Dreams rise, images unfold, and even in rest, the mind continues its quiet work. You are both the dreamer and the dream. You are the one who sees, and the one who is seen. And when the final sleep comes, the one that ends this brief story, what then? We do not know. No science, no philosophy, no faith can say for certain. But maybe that uncertainty is the final gift of being human, the permission to wonder, even in the face of the unknown, to live as both question and answer. Somewhere, Beyond every theory and every belief, there is a simple truth. You are alive. You can feel the air move in your lungs, the pulse in your wrist, the thoughts passing through your mind like clouds through sky. That awareness, fragile, fleeting, miraculous, is all you truly have, and it is enough. Because when you look at the world looks back. When you love, the universe loves through you. When you awaken, existence awakens a little more. The cosmos has waited billions of years for this moment, for you to be here, breathing, aware, wondering. This, then, is the final fact. You are not separate from the universe. You are its expression. You are not a small life looking up at the stars. You are the stars looking at themselves. You are the continuation of everything that has ever been, a temporary form of eternal consciousness, luminous and curious. And though your body will one day return to the earth, the light that burns behind your eyes, the awareness that says I am, belongs to something timeless. So let the mystery remain. Let wonder be your faith and gratitude your prayer. Because to be alive at all, to feel, to think, to love, to know, is the universe's rarest and most beautiful phenomenon. You are the cosmos, breathing. You are consciousness, dreaming. You are human. Every moment, your consciousness flickers, not steady like a beam, but pulsing like light through leaves. Your awareness blinks in and out, fragments stitched together by the illusion of continuity. The brain does not see the world in real time. It gathers pieces, half a second delayed, and edits them into a seamless now. You are always living slightly in the past, a ghost chasing the present. Yet somehow, that delay feels whole. The mind fills the gaps with trust in its own story of reality. It builds an image so convincing that we rarely question it. The colors we see are not truly out there. They are electrical translations of wavelength painted within us. The world outside is vibration. The world inside is experience. And between them lies the miracle of perception, the quiet bridge that turns energy into meaning. Your eyes, small as they are, can detect a single photon, the faintest particle of light known to exist. Your ears can sense air molecules vibrating less than a billionth of a meter. Within your fingertips live thousands of sensory receptors, reading texture and temperature in exquisite detail. You are built to feel the world deeply, though the modern mind often forgets how. Somewhere within you, deep in the folds of the temporal lobe, the hippocampus tends the garden of memory. It does not store moments as photographs, but as living, breathing impressions, scents, tones, fragments of touch. When you recall a memory, your brain rebuilds it anew, using imagination as mortar. So what you remember is never exactly what happened. It is what your soul decided was worth keeping. Emotion colors that memory. A smell can bring back a childhood summer. A melody can open a door you thought was locked. The body remembers in ways the mind cannot explain. Even when the details fade, the feelings remain. Proof that emotion is the truest form of memory. You are a creature of pattern. The brain searches endlessly for rhythm and reason, in faces, in clouds, in chaos itself. That is why we see shapes in the stars, why we tell stories about time. Pattern is survival. Narrative is comfort. Together, they give meaning to randomness. Sometimes the mind creates patterns too well, seeing danger where there is none, hope where it cannot survive. Anxiety, in that sense, is imagination turned against itself. But hope is imagination turned toward light. Both are born from the same gift, the ability to project ourselves into futures that do not yet exist. When you think of the future, your brain activates the same regions as when you recall the past. It uses memory as material to build possibility. So your dreams are made of your history. Every choice, every scar, every joy feeding into the visions of what could be. Even your wildest fantasies are built from pieces of your real life. In sleep, those fragments rearrange themselves. The brain cleans house, washing away toxins, sorting information, stitching together insight from chaos. Dreaming may be the mind's way of learning to let go. And yet, many of humanity's greatest discoveries, from the structure of DNA to symphonies, have arrived through dreams. Consciousness, it seems, works even when we believe it has rested. The sense of self, that quiet I, is not fixed. It drifts across the day like shadow and sunlight. When you speak another language, your personality shifts slightly. When you move, your sense of space expands. When you lose yourself in music, the boundaries between you and the world dissolve. The self is not a single thing, but a flowing process, a conversation between brain, body, and world. Inside your skull, neurons fire in patterns that mirror the structure of galaxies. The same mathematical ratios found in cosmic spirals can be traced in the growth of neurons. It is as if the universe has written itself in fractal language, repeating beauty at every scale. Perhaps consciousness is not a separate phenomenon, but a continuation of the same order that governs stars. The more science learns, the more the mystery deepens. We can describe how things work, how synapses release chemicals, how perception is built, but not why awareness exists at all. Why should a collection of atoms feel? Why should matter awaken to itself? These are questions without borders, half philosophy, half physics, and wholly human. The search for self-knowledge is the oldest story we tell. From the temples of Delphi to modern neuroscience, the same desire burns, to know who we are and why we are here. Each generation moves closer, but the horizon keeps receding. Perhaps that is the point. Maybe consciousness is not meant to be solved, only witnessed, like the sea, or a song, or love itself. You are not a separate observer of the universe. You are the universe observing itself, briefly, through the lens of humanity. Your eyes are stardust sculpted into awareness. Your voice is vibration made flesh. When you laugh, the atoms that once belonged to comets now hum in joy. When you cry, the salt in your tears remembers the ocean where life began. The body is the universe made intimate. The mind is the cosmos dreaming. And awareness, that fragile, shining thread, is the miracle that ties them together. Every second, somewhere in your brain, new connections form. Neurons reach out, meeting others like hands in the dark. With every thought, you reshape yourself. You are not who you were an hour ago, and yet you remain yourself. Identity, like a river, is both constant and ever-changing. When you pause and take a deep breath, you join a rhythm older than life. Inhale, the air enters, carrying atoms from volcanoes, from forests, from the breath of whales. Exhale, you give back, completing the cycle. Breathing is not just survival. It is participation in the Earth's endless exchange. It is proof that you belong. And when your heart beats, again and again, it is not only sustaining you, it is keeping time with the quiet pulse of existence itself. If you could trace every thought you've ever had, it would form a web stretching back through time. Each idea a spark, each emotion a ripple in the sea of mind. The brain never truly stops. Even in rest, it hums like a quiet city at night. Neurons exchange whispers in the dark, replaying moments, testing possibilities, preparing you for futures that have not yet arrived. In that unseen dialogue, you are rewritten constantly. The person you were yesterday lives now only as memory, and even that memory is changed each time you recall it. You are an evolving story told by a nervous system that never stops imagining its next line. The average human spends about half their waking life in daydreams, wandering thoughtscapes that drift between memory and invention. In those moments, the body remains here, but the mind travels through imagined conversations, lost loves, alternate lives. It is practice for existence itself, rehearsal for reality. Through imagination, you expand what is possible. Human empathy, too, depends on imagination. When you see someone in pain, your brain mirrors their experience, firing the same neural pathways that would activate if you were hurting. That is why a wince, a cry, a trembling voice can move you to tears. Your nervous system does not always know the difference between you and them. It simply recognizes life. Love, in its truest form, may be the most profound expression of that recognition. It is not merely chemistry, though chemistry sustains it. It is a kind of resonance, two patterns of consciousness aligning, amplifying, softening each other's noise. When two people touch, even briefly, their hearts can sync rhythm, their breathing can align, their bodies can find a shared frequency. The science of connection is a symphony. And yet, love defies definition. It lives in the gap between neurons and poetry. It can endure decades or vanish in seconds. It can make the world unbearable and unbearably beautiful at once. Perhaps love is how the universe remembers that it is alive. Through us, through our longing, through the fragile devotion we offer to each other. Every species on Earth feels some echo of it. Elephants mourn their dead. Wolves raise their young in cooperative packs. Even trees, through their subterranean networks, share nutrients with weaker neighbors. Life seeks not only to survive, but to stay connected. That, too, is part of the pattern. The human heart, a muscle the size of a fist, is powered by electrical signals no stronger than those that light a watch battery. Yet it drives rivers of blood through 60,000 miles of vessels, carrying oxygen, carrying warmth, carrying the story of your being to every cell. When it quickens for love, when it tightens for fear, it is not metaphor. It is movement, ancient and precise. Each beat is an act of faith. In your body lives an orchestra of life. Bacteria, mitochondria, cells within cells, each performing its role in silence. You are not a single organism, but a colony of billions, collaborating toward the illusion of one. The DNA in your mitochondria comes only from your mother, passed through generations unbroken. A single thread weaving through time, whispering, "You belong here." When you speak, vibrations ripple through air, moving atoms that have drifted across continents. Your words are waves, passing from your breath to the ears of another, shaping thought, emotion, reality. Language is our shared telepathy, the way one consciousness enters another. And though words are fragile, their echoes endure. Every human culture tells stories about beginnings, creation, emergence, birth from light or darkness. In each, there is the same longing to understand how something as vast as existence could include something as small as us. Science tells us we are made of the same matter as everything else. Myth tells us we are meant to find meaning in that truth. Both are right. When you gaze at the night sky, the light you see began its journey long before humanity existed. Some of it is older than our species, older even than our planet. You are seeing the past in the present, photons that have traveled for billions of years, just to meet your eyes for a moment. That meeting is brief, but it is real. You are part of the story those stars have been telling all along. The human lifespan is the blink of an eye in cosmic time. And yet, within that blink, we build civilizations, compose music, fall in love, dream of infinity. We create meaning faster than the universe can erase it. That is the miracle of consciousness, to make eternity visible in a single heartbeat. Even death, which feels like an ending, is another transformation. The body returns to the earth that shaped it. The matter that once thought, spoke, and loved becomes part of other lives. In the soil, in the air, in the breath of future beings, pieces of you will continue. The universe wastes nothing. Perhaps then mortality is not tragedy, but completion. The wave returns to the sea, and the sea remembers. The energy that once animated you will go on, not as you, but as everything. That truth can be frightening, but it can also be freeing. Because if nothing is ever lost, then being alive is simply the moment you are chosen to shine. Some believe consciousness ends when the brain falls silent. Others sense it as something that cannot be contained, a field we tap into, a current we briefly hold. Either way, the wonder remains, that awareness has ever existed at all. That in a universe of endless dark, there was once light that could think about itself. And that light, for now, is you. You, breathing in rhythm with the trees. You, carrying starlight in your veins. You, feeling joy and sorrow and awe in the same fragile body. You, who will someday return to the silence from which all things rise. Until then, you walk between worlds, the world of matter and the world of meaning. You hold both in your hands, though they cannot be held. And in the quiet between heartbeats, you remember, to be human is to be the question and the answer both. There is a moment, often unspoken, when a person feels the weight of existence and the gentleness of it at the same time. It happens in strange places, standing in the light before dawn, or watching rain slide down a window, or hearing your own breath echo in a quiet room. It's the feeling of being both temporary and infinite, aware of how small you are, and yet how deeply woven into everything. The brain cannot hold the scale of the universe, yet the heart can sense it. You can feel awe for things you cannot measure, galaxies beyond number, time beyond comprehension. And in that awe, something opens. It's not understanding, it's acceptance. A surrender to the fact that life is vast, and you are lucky enough to know it. Even now, inside your head, billions of electrical sparks are firing in patterns of thought, sensation, memory. In the next second, a few will fade, others will form. This is what consciousness is, not a fixed flame, but a shimmering dance. You are the pattern that persists long enough to call itself I. And when that pattern dissolves, the energy remains, moving onward, becoming part of other stories, other lives. In your blood, the iron that carries oxygen was forged in supernova. Each breath you take is cosmic ancestry made real, the universe looping back into itself in the form of a human inhalation. Every molecule that enters your lungs was once part of something greater, the wind of mountains, the exhale of forests, the sigh of oceans. To breathe is to belong. Your senses, those delicate instruments, are tuned to a very narrow band of reality. You can see only a fraction of light, hear only a slice of sound, touch only what fits within reach. Yet within that small spectrum, you build meaning vast enough to hold love, loss, hope, and eternity. The limits of your perception are what make life bearable, a frame around infinity. We are the only creatures, as far as we know, who can imagine our own absence. The awareness of mortality is not a flaw in the design. It is the source of our empathy. Knowing we will end teaches us to cherish, to protect, to grieve. Without impermanence, there would be no tenderness. The heart breaks, and that breaking makes space for understanding. Grief is not a wound to be closed, but a door to meaning. It shows us what mattered most, what love has shaped us into. Even pain, when faced gently, reveals connection, that our lives are threaded through one another's in ways unseen. Memory is the soul's way of folding time. Through memory, the past breathes again, and those we've lost walk with us in quiet ways. A voice in thought, a scent, a phrase we still say. The mind cannot tell where the living end and the remembered begin. Perhaps they never truly do. The word human comes from the same root as humus, the earth itself. To be human is to come from the soil, to return to it, and to know this in our bones. The body, fragile as it is, carries the entire lineage of life, the rhythm of tides, the instincts of the wild, the adaptability of stone and flame. We are not separate from nature. We are nature made conscious, a way for the earth to see itself. And when we look beyond our planet, toward the moon, toward distant stars, what we are really seeking is reflection. Not escape, but perspective. The realization that life is rare, precious, and utterly connected. That the same physics that govern galaxies also hum beneath our skin. The atoms of your body are billions of years old. The water in your veins has cycled through countless forms, rivers, clouds, tears, oceans. And when you touch another person, even lightly, that water mingles again, bridging histories in the smallest gesture. You are built of cycles within cycles, circles within circles, each one whispering, everything returns. Science has taught us more about ourselves in the last few centuries than in all of human history combined. We've mapped the genome, decoded the brain's rhythms, peered into atoms and stars alike. But the more we learn, the more we encounter mystery, not less. For every answer, 1,000 new questions rise. The human story is not one of arrival, but of continual becoming. Perhaps that is the beauty of it, that we will never truly be done. We are always learning, always reaching, always opening to what's next. The child who looks at a butterfly and wonders how it flies carries the same spark as the scientist building telescopes to glimpse the dawn of time. Curiosity is our shared inheritance, the quiet fire at the center of our being. And so life continues. The world spins. We wake, we dream, we love, we lose, we begin again. Across generations, through art and science, laughter and silence, humanity keeps building bridges between what is known and what is felt. We are each a single heartbeat in an ancient song, brief but essential. If there is a secret to being human, perhaps it is this: to remain curious, even in the face of the unknown. To look at the night sky and feel not fear, but wonder. To understand that every heartbeat, every kindness, every act of creation, however small, is the universe remembering itself through you. And when you stand at the edge of that awareness, when you feel yourself dissolve into something larger, that is not the end of the journey. It is the moment you realize you were never separate from it at all. You have always been part of everything. You have always been home.